Hello everyone, Doug Moffat here, Director of Development at the Broad Art Museum, Michigan State University, with our first Medieval Minute. Now, the first thing I want to do is introduce you to an orphan from our collection, and here it is. It's a single leaf. We think it's 15th century Italian, and that's about all they tell us in the catalog description. So let me try to point out a few other aspects to it. So this is a piece of vellum, so animal skin. It's got a nicely ruled writing area for the script. The script itself is very professional, very clear, very legible if you can read Latin. And right along the edge here, this is the recto of the leaf, so that's the one on the right-hand side of the book if you're looking at it. There's evidence of little prickings, we call them, little holes where it was sewn into a binding. Now, it was removed from that binding at some point, and sometimes the medievals did this themselves. They made manuscripts and took them apart, but my guess is this was probably taken out of its binding in the 20th century because it was a better idea for resale, to sell one leaf at a time rather than to sell the whole codex. Now, you might ask, why would an art museum have this kind of object? Probably it has to do with the illuminated capital that's right here at the bottom of this recto page. And it is a beautiful little capital. You can see there is a blue and white kind of cross-hatching interior of the letter, which is surrounded with gold. And then we have the square purple background. And the gold actually is so lustrous, it looks like it's almost too much to be in that area, and it's going to leak out, and in fact, it kind of has leaked out, because growing out of this illuminated letter is a little kind of vine or plant, and it grows down below the writing area and it threatens to go all the way up the margin. And you see this fairly often in medieval manuscripts. The scribes that did these books loved to color outside the lines, and that's exactly what's happened here. Probably this was done by a specialist, but maybe not. Maybe it's by the scribe who did all the other writing on the page. Now, in this case, the G, and because that's the letter, begins a word that is very fitting for the illustration. What we see here is G-A-U-D-E. The D and E kind of run together. That's called a ligature. And that's the word gaude, which comes from the Latin gaudere, or gaudare, actually, I think. And that is the word for joy. And in fact, in this case, it's an imperative. You should rejoice. So who's supposed to rejoice? Well, as I look at the Latin, I think it's the curia over here, the court celestis. That's from the Latin caelum, meaning sky or heaven. It's plural, so it's the court of heaven. So I'm imagining it's all the angels in heaven. There could be as many as 9 types of angels. Now, who are they supposed to rejoice in, or what? And the answer actually is above in these red lines. Here we have in Natale undecim millium virginum. Undecim is 11. Millium, think of mille in French, 1,000 virgins. So they're supposed to rejoice in the 11,000 virgins, and who, pray tell, are the 11,000 virgins? Well, let me tell you. Once upon a time, let's say the late 4th century, there was a British princess. Her name was Ursula, and She was betrothed to a chap over in Europe, and she decided that she had to go there with an entourage. And in that entourage were 11,000 virgins, British virgins, I guess. So off they went, and they got as far as Cologne, a town in Germany, where they fell, alas and alack, into the hands of the dastardly and pagan Huns. And the Huns, being Huns, proceeded to decapitate all 11,000 virgins and shoot an arrow through Ursula, and that was the end of her as well. But it had a happy ending, this story, because Ursula became Saint Ursula, the namesake of the Ursuline order of nuns, and the 11,000 virgins were honored in the liturgical calendar of the Catholic Church with a feast day. And what we have here in our little manuscript page is, beginning with this Gaude, a song to celebrate the 11,000 virgins. It's a special kind of song called an antiphon, A-N-T-P-H-O-N, and it was sung with the choir, and one part of the choir would have one part, and one part of the choir would have the other part, and they would sing back and forth these words. We don't have the music, we only have the words. Over the page, so this is the verso, so it's like you turn the page. Right down here, you can see Gaude again, and in fact, this is another antiphon for that same feast day for the 11,000 virgins. Now, there's a wonderful database called Cantus, which is the Latin for song, which is devoted to liturgical song in its manuscript form. And so this is where I confirmed that this antiphon and the one before it were connected with the feast for the 11,000 virgins. So I thought, well, let's go back and see what's before. And what we have before is, so in this part right here, I don't see any reference to any name of a saint, but there's De Tentos ad Daemonibus, so that looks like something to do with demons, that's exciting. Vita vivit, so that's a lively one, and Sume Deus potentiae tibi sit laus et gloria. So I looked in this Cantos database, and what I discovered was these are also antiphons for the feast day of that most dogged of saints, Saint Bernard. So, yes, could be Italian. Yes, could be 15th century. I'm good with that. But I think what we have here is a page from an antiphonary, a collection of antiphons, a very popular kind of book in the Middle Ages, because you'd find it wherever you would see, you would hear music sung of a liturgical nature. So a cathedral, an abbey, a monastery, a nunnery. I think this one tiny leaf, this little orphan, as I called it, would probably make a great focus for an enterprising undergraduate with a little bit of Latin to learn a lot about the Latin liturgical song. So maybe somebody in the College of Music would be interested in this. And that is my medieval minute, and I look forward to our next time together.